BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, with the objective of funding infrastructure projects and fostering sustainable development initiatives in emerging economies, as well as reforming the global governance, created the new Development Bank. One of its main goals is to support both public and private projects from the members through financial aid. The new Development Bank will achieve this purpose by establishing local, regional and global partnership with both multilateral development banks and market participants. Moreover, it wants to accomplish a common goal of global growth through the aid of other existing financial institutions. Primarily, they want a financial and economic structure which can provide a more equal role for the emerging powers. Multilateral development banks, with whom the new Development Bank will establish partnership, are institutions providing financial support for economic and social development activities in developing countries. They work through a high level of cooperation. The new Development Bank idea was proposed in the 4th BRICS Summit in 2012 in New Delhi, and it was finally established in the 5th BRICS Summit in Durban 1 year later. The new Development Bank is, as they state, a testament of coming of age of these countries in the world of development finance.
But how does the new Development Bank works? In what concerns its structure, it is important to know that the bank shall have a board of governors, a board of directors, a president, a vice president, and such other officers and staff as may be considered necessary. The president of the bank shall be elected from one of the founding members on a rotational basis, and there shall be at least one vice president from each of the other founding members. In difference to the UN, the new Development Bank has an equal share of each country as far as governance is concerned. Indeed, the first president is from India. Brazil represents the inaugural chairman of the board of directors, and Russians are granted with the inaugural chairman of the board of governors. But who are the members? Who can apply to be a member of it? As mentioned above, the founding members are Brazil, China, India, and South Africa. However, the membership is open to members of the UN as long as special majority at the board of governors is achieved. Moreover, the membership of the bank is open to either borrowing or non-borrowing members. How do they take decisions? How do they vote? The voting power of each member shall be equal to the number of its subscribed shares in the capital stock of the bank. That means that if any member fails to pay any part of the amount they should pay, such member will be unable, as long as the failure continues, to exercise the percentage of its voting power. Moreover, all decisions shall be taken by majority, composed of 2/3 of the total voting power of the members voting in favor. Furthermore, in the case of a special majority, this majority will be achieved if there is any affirmative vote of 4 of the founding members. But how do they finance their actions? First of all, the new Development Bank has an initial subscribed capital of $50 billion and an authorized capital of $100 billion. But what do they do with this money? As mentioned above, one of the main goals is to achieve sustainable development. Therefore, the bank does partnership with initiatives that drive growth and employment while ensuring environmental protection.
The global order that results from the Bretton Woods system is based on the core-periphery division. This model is organized around 2 poles, linked in an asymmetric power relation, where the center controls and influences the periphery. Nevertheless, nowadays, there's a shift in the direction of the capital flows because the manufacturing capacity is found mainly in emerging market economies. A shift towards a multipolar structure with new actors is being held. The BRICS are those new large and growing economies which are becoming the new poles in the global order. Asymmetry is still the main feature, since the new poles do have the capacity to act, but not the capacity to influence. Despite the increase in the BRICS contribution to the global economy, their representation in the governance of multipolar development banks, as the World Bank, is still the same. Therefore, the large emerging markets began to campaign for a reform of the Bretton Woods institutions. They did not succeed, and hence they decided to create new institutions, such as the BRICS New Development Bank. The NDB was created in order to gain a greater representation and impact in the institutions of the economic governance. The BRICS want a world order less dependent on the United States and an equal representation and distribution of power.
In front of this situation, the BRICS present themselves as an attractive alternative to the aid provided by the Bretton Woods institutions. The new development bank promises to provide loans with no string attached. The BRICS do not have any interest in telling others how to run their own country. With this, the new development bank seeks to reduce Western influence and the unwanted economic conditions which deteriorate the social conditions of the indebted country, as well as to strengthen the influence of the BRICS. With this alternative to the structural adjustment program, the BRICS are threatening the West to lose their influence over the periphery in favor of new economies. In conclusion, the impact of BRICS in the global economic and political governance hasn't reached its peak yet. Their increasing influence over Bretton Woods institutions matches with their protagonism in their self-made organizations, based on free action not only between BRICS countries but multilaterally among all member countries who form them. Those liberal relations are the real deal against Western-dominated institutions. Nevertheless, BRICS countries must take into account the volatility of this common project. There is the danger that in the long term, some countries will put aside collective action for the pursuit of their national interests. If so, the spirit of solidarity and cooperation against the Western dominion, the engine of BRICS, will decrease. BRICS can only influence global policy through the union of interests, as with the new development bank, which will test the challenging practical capacity rather than being a forum towards Bretton Woods institutions.